بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه يوم الدين. يوم التعليم والتذكر والتذكير النفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث للتمسك بكتابنا سنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم والدعاء إلى الهدى والدين للخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاة قربته واسم تعالى. Begin by praising Allah Ta'ala and starting in His name. I'm asking for His peace and blessings for the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our Prophet and Messenger, the one who came to us with the Sharia of Allah Ta'ala to save us from the evils of ourselves and the devils, to show us the way to Allah's good graces and His rida, His eternal pleasure. And we ask it as well for His family, His companions, and all those that follow in His footsteps at the end of judgment. May Allah make us amongst them. Ameen. We begin as well by intending to learn, to teach, to remind, and to be reminded, and to spread the message of Allah Ta'ala for His sake to all corners of the earth. And we ask as well that Allah Ta'ala accepts what we have fasted today and yesterday so far this month of Ramadan. And we begin, inshaAllah, after a late start, apologies for that, we begin with the first roha of a series about the inward and outward dimensions of fasting. So fasting, as you all know, is obligatory upon all the believers. Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. He says, O you who believe, fasting was made obligatory upon you all, like it was made obligatory upon those before you, so that you may have taqwa. It's very clear ayah. There's no disagreements amongst any scholar in the ummah that fasting is obligatory upon the believers. Absolutely none. Anyone who believes so, that you do not have to fast on Ramadan, that it's not wajib, that person believes something that is not part of Islam. So fasting is absolutely, without a doubt, with consensus, obligatory upon the believers. So fasting is obligatory upon us, and for us as Muslims, we only have to fast 1 month out of the year. The only time you ever have to fast in Islam is in Ramadan. There's no other obligatory fast. With the exception, in some very, very rare cases, if someone gets themselves into a situation where they have to pay expiation, but that's very rare, and usually doesn't happen to most people. But for most people, the only time they ever have to fast is the month of Ramadan, either 29 or 30 days out of every year. Okay? So now that we know that fasting is obligatory upon all of us, let's learn a little bit more about it. So fasting was made obligatory when the Prophet ﷺ was in his second year after the Hijrah. So after he left for the city of Medina, when he left Mecca, after the Hijrah, the second year of his Hijrah is when Ramadan was made obligatory. Before that, Ramadan was not obligatory for the believers to fast. In that same year, the Battle of Badr took place. So imagine this. You're a believer with the Prophet ﷺ, the first time you're ever fasting in the month of Ramadan. And it also coincides with the first ever battle fought with the Prophet ﷺ. To put into perspective, for many of us, we might think fasting is hard sometimes because of where we live, because the days are long, or because of the type of work we have. But the believers of that time, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, it was their first ever month fasting. And they fought a war with the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah gave them victory because of their conviction and their sincerity and their love for the Prophet and this religion. And so it was, like we said, made obligatory in the second month after the Hijrah, and it is now obligatory until this present day, and it will remain obligatory until the Day of Judgment. So this class, this roha, we're talking about the inward and outward dimensions of fasting. So Allah Ta'ala, He revealed to the Prophet ﷺ what we call the Sharia, the laws of this religion. The laws of this religion. You have to pray 5 times a day. When do you have to pray? Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. How do you have to pray? All of it is outlined in this religion, line by line. No details left out. You have to pay charity, you have to pay zakat. How much do you have to pay? Who do you have to give it to? All of it is outlined. Likewise in fasting, every single scenario you can think of has been discussed. When do you start fasting? When do you stop fasting? How do you fast? How do you make an intention when you fast? Should you make an intention when you fast? A lot of questions to be answered. So Allah Ta'ala revealed this to the Prophet ﷺ when He relayed the message to us, how to fast the month of Ramadan. How to fast the month of Ramadan. This how to fast has an outward form and an inward form. What does it mean to have an outward form, and what does it mean to have an inward form? Imagine someone comes and they make wudu, okay? They're making wudu. And they don't wash their face. What would you say? Have they made wudu? Nah, they haven't made wudu. This is the outward form of their wudu is now incomplete, meaning it's as if they've never made wudu. You have to go make it again the right way, right? Yeah. Now imagine the same person. They made wudu this time. They washed everything properly. Their arms, their hand, their face, their feet. They wiped their head, everything. But the entire time, they were thinking about something else. They were thinking about, something at work. They were thinking about the game. They were thinking about what they're going to do with their friends, whatever it may be. Now, does this person, has he made wudu? He's made wudu. You don't have to remake it. No one will tell him you have to go make your wudu again. No, but the inward form of his wudu, the inward dimension that's between him and Allah Ta'ala is incomplete. And so he's made his wudu, but the reward that this person gets is not like the reward the reward for the person that makes the complete wudu, and in their entire time they're thinking about Allah Ta'ala and the prayer they're about to go into. Likewise, for example, in salah, when you pray, the person who they're daydreaming in their prayer without actually being focused on it, even though they have made ruku' and sujood and prayed the right number of rak'ah and everything, is not like the person who does that while being present with their Lord. There's a story of a man, of a jama'ah, of a masjid. They were praying jama'ah. And after the imam gives salams, everyone got up to go. Except for one man. He went to the imam, he said, "Ya imam, today you only prayed 3 rak'ah. It was Isha. You only prayed 3 rak'ah. You didn't pray the 4th one." The imam looks at him and he's like, everyone here thinks we prayed 4 except for you. Why do you think we only prayed 3? He said, because every single day during Isha, I do the counting for my stores during Isha. Every rak'ah is a different store. I have 4 stores. The first rak'ah, I do the accounting for my first store. The second one, the second store. The third one, the third store. And the fourth one, the fourth store. Today, I didn't get to the 4th store. You didn't pray enough rak'at. And the point being, this kind of person, this is his state with Allah. He's praying. Outwardly, his prayer is fine. But inwardly, between him and Allah Ta'ala, he's doing accounting. And so the goal of all of us as believers is to get to a point where our worship and all of our affairs with Allah is sound and complete inwardly and outwardly. Outwardly, they check all the boxes. And inwardly, your state with Him, when you're doing this action, you're present with Allah. You're thinking about Him. You have hope for Him accepting this. And you aren't just daydreaming. None of us are just daydreaming or just, letting our thoughts take us left and right. Right. So now we're going to start the class, inshallah, and start with talking about the outward dimensions, because the outward dimensions are the key to the inward dimensions. If someone doesn't have a complete fast, then it doesn't matter how much presence they have with Allah Ta'ala, their fast is not accepted. Just like how someone, no matter how much khushu' they have in salah, they're sitting there, they're crying, they're weeping, they feel present with Allah Ta'ala, but they don't do ruku', or they miss a rak'ah or something, right? Their prayer is not complete no matter how much khushu' they had. So the key to achieving perfection in the inward dimension starts with achieving perfection in the outward dimensions. This is a very important principle that many people overlook. Many people think that as long as you have a state with Allah Ta'ala during your worship and you feel connected to Him, that it doesn't matter how you do it. No, it does matter how you do it. How you do it matters, and what you feel while you're doing it, what you're thinking about, also matters. You want to combine between the two. But it starts with how you do it. It starts with how you do it. If you don't do it the right way, you never tick the box. There's no reward. If you do it the right way, you've ticked the box, and now you can start accruing reward for what you've done. Okay? طيب. So he says, fasting is obligatory upon every single Muslim who is an adult, meaning they have reached puberty and they are sane, must fast. Every Muslim who is an adult and has reached, meaning they've reached puberty and they are sane, must fast, without exception. Okay? If you're not Muslim, obviously you don't have to fast. You have to believe in Allah first, and then you have to fast. But as long as you're a Muslim, you've ticked the first box. The second box, you have to be an adult. You have to be someone who has reached puberty. If you have not reached puberty, you're not obligated to fast. But your parents have to tell you to fast. So someone, for example, who reaches the age of 7, their parents must start, telling them to fast, helping them fast, training them to fast, even if it's just a few hours every day, until they get to a point where they can fast the whole day. Once they get to 10, the parent has to discipline the child if they don't fast. The parent has to discipline the child if they don't fast, just like in salah, in prayer, and other acts of worship. So, if you have reached puberty, you must fast. If you haven't reached puberty yet, then your parents are the ones who have to tell you to fast. If they don't do so, then they are the ones who have not completed this commandment from Allah Ta'ala, and they're actually sinful. They're actually sinful. So if you are a Muslim and you're an adult, meaning you've reached puberty, you must fast. Likewise, if you are sane, meaning you are someone who has a complete mind, okay, which all of us have, alhamdulillah. If you have a complete mind, you have to fast. Someone who was born differently, was born with something in their mind, and for example, they don't understand, they can't differentiate between right and wrong. This kind of person doesn't have to fast. Okay, this kind of person does not have to fast, even if they are an adult and a Muslim. Okay? The next point is types of people who are excused from fasting. Someone, for example, they are a Muslim who has reached puberty and they are an adult, but they are unable to fast. They are unable to fast. Their health is in a condition, or their age that is at a point where they're just unable to fast. Such a person does not have to fast. Okay? So for example, someone gets to a point, they're in their 80s. Actually, people in their 80s who still fast, mashallah. But someone, for example, gets to a point in their age where, it's just too difficult for them to fast. Either it's just too difficult, or doing so would actually make them ill. Such a person, after consultation with a doctor, if they're told, khalas, you shouldn't be fasting, by a righteous Muslim doctor, not just anyone, that person no longer has to fast. Someone who's very old, okay, they're very old, they've gotten to a point where, fasting is harmful for them, or it's extremely difficult. Not normal difficulty. There's always going to be some difficulty to fasting. You're not eating and drinking from sunrise to sunset, right? From sunrise to sunset. But if there's a difficulty beyond what's usually tolerated by people, okay, this person now, this old person, doesn't have to fast, okay? Likewise, someone who is who has a chronic illness that prevents them from fasting. Someone has a chronic illness that prevents them from fasting. This person as well, if their fasting leads to them being, struggling very hard, doing something they can't handle, or making their illness worse, they are also excused from fasting. They don't have to fast. Okay? This kind of person, these two kinds of individuals, they don't fast, but what do they do instead? They give a handful of food for every day of Ramadan to a poor person. Okay? They give a handful of food for every day of Ramadan to a poor person. So either 29 or 30 handfuls of food to a poor person at the end of Ramadan. Okay, how much is a handful? When you go to a store, do you buy handfuls of rice or handfuls of flour? You buy it in pounds, right? Usually it's in pounds. So a handful comes out to about half a liter. Okay, a handful comes out to about half a liter. So if you have someone very old, okay, and they didn't fast this month of Ramadan, they can't fast anymore, at the end of the month, they would just give 15 liters of rice. The best thing to give is rice in America. Just give 15 liters of rice to a poor person, and they're done. Okay? There's another category of individuals who they're given the choice. There's another category of individuals who are not allowed to fast at all either. And that is if you have a woman who is, for example, menstruating, then she's not allowed to fast. She is not allowed to fast. Even if her cycle comes in the middle of the day, her fast for that day is considered invalid and she has to make up the day. So for example, You have three possible scenarios. You have a woman, okay? She prayed Tarawih, she went home, and before suhoor, her cycle started. It's quite clear. She started menstruating before the day started, so she's not fasting for that day. She has to make it up later on after Ramadan. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is a woman, she's fasting, she wakes up for suhoor, she eats suhoor, she prays Fajr in Jama'ah, she goes home, or she prays it at home with her family, and afterwards, she's going through her day, she goes to school, she goes to work, she does whatever she's doing, right? She's taking care of her kids, whatever it may be. During the middle of the day, her cycle starts. Like imagine it started, for example, around Dhuhr time, her cycle started. Her fast for that day no longer counts. She gets rewarded for whatever she went through that day, fasting, the difficulty of it, but she hasn't checked the box for that day. So she has to make up that day later on after Ramadan. Even if her cycle kicks in 1 minute before the adhan of Maghrib, she has to make up that day. So she fasted the entire day. Woke up for suhoor, prayed everything, fasted. She got to like 7:50, for example, and the adhan's at 7:51. And her cycle started, she has to make up that day. So long as her cycle started, so long as her cycle starts in the middle of the day, that day doesn't count anymore, and she has to make it up. A frequent question that's asked is, how do you know when your cycle starts? It's when she sees that it has started. Feelings don't count. If she feels like she started, it doesn't count. She's not considered to have started menstruating. If she just knows, usually it starts around this time every month, also doesn't count. It's when she actually sees that it has started. It's when she actually sees that it has started. That's when her cycle starts. So even if, for example, it's before Maghrib and she feels like she has started, her cycle, but she doesn't see anything, her fast is still good. So she sees something, for example, later on in the night, that's when her cycle is considered to have started. Okay? So we covered people who it's obligatory for them to fast, which is every Muslim who is an adult and sane. And we covered people who they don't fast. Instead, they have to give some food in exchange for not fasting. Those are people who are very old or chronically ill, and fasting will lead to extreme difficulty or illness. And we talked about people who it's just haram for them to fast. They don't fast, but they make up the days later on. There's a fourth category, and that is someone who is what? Someone who has a choice between fasting and not fasting. Who is this? This is someone who's traveling, for example. Someone who's traveling, for example, they have a choice. Can they fast? Sure, you can fast. If you don't want to fast, you don't have to fast. With conditions. For example, we are taking a trip. Imagine next week in Ramadan, we're going to take a trip to, where are we going? Virginia. We're going to go to Virginia next week, okay? طيب. When did we leave?
2 weeks ago.
We left 2 weeks ago. We're leaving next week.
2 days ago.
Wait, how? We're leaving next week.
Oh, I thought you said.
When are we leaving? What time are we leaving?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. AM or PM?
PM.
PM. We are leaving next week for Virginia, 6 p.m. Okay? 6 p.m. What time? What prayer time is that? Is that Asr? That's Asr, right? Okay. Since we're leaving at 6 p.m. after Fajr, okay, we have to fast that day. Okay? We have to fast that day. So the first condition to fast, to having the choice of not fasting, if you're a traveler, is to what? Is to make sure you leave before Fajr. Okay? If we were to leave for Virginia before Fajr, okay, now we have a choice. Are we going to fast or are we not going to fast? All right? But we left at 6 p.m. It's way after Fajr. All right? So long as it's way after Fajr, khalas, you have to start the day fasting. Go on your trip. If during your trip you get, you can't fast anymore, you get car sick, you have to eat something, whatever happens, you can break your fast and make up the day. No problem. But so long as you're leaving after Fajr, you have to start the day fasting. If you're leaving before Fajr, you have a choice. You can fast or not. If you choose to fast, that's fantastic. Fast, it's not bad, okay? If you choose not to fast, you have to make it up when? after Ramadan. Yeah? After Ramadan. Okay. So that is the traveler with the first condition that they have to have left when? Before Fajr. طيب. Question. We're traveling. Where are we going? We are going, for example, to the other side of Detroit. This is Detroit, right? We're in Detroit. We're going to the other side of Detroit. We're still inside Detroit. We're just going to go really far, like drive, I don't know. Are you still inside Detroit if you drive for an hour? Huh? No, you're not. Okay. Let's think of a new scenario. So in London, in the UK and London, you can drive for an hour and you'll still be in London. That's how big the city is. So imagine we live in London and we are going somewhere else on the other side of London. It's an hour drive. We left before Fajr. Do we have to fast? It's an hour drive, maybe like 60 or 70 kilometers. What do you guys think? Huh? No? What do you guys think? No or yes? If you're traveling inside the same city you're in, would you be considered a traveler? You got to fast, right? Yeah, you got to fast. Like you're still in London. You're from London. You're still in London. You're in Detroit. You're just going across town. You still got to fast, right? But you leave Detroit. You leave Detroit before Fajr. Now you have an option. Okay? So the second condition for when a traveler has an option of whether or not to fast is they have to leave the city that they're in before Fajr as well. Okay, so they leave before Fajr and they actually cross the city limits. They leave it before Fajr. So for example, you're going from Detroit to where, like Toledo, Virginia, okay, Lansing, Upper Peninsula, wherever you're going, okay? You left the city and you're going far enough for considered a legal traveler in the Sharia, which is like 80 kilometers, okay? You're going that far, and now suddenly you're allowed to not fast. If you don't fast, you got to make it up, okay? So 3 conditions. You have to leave before Fajr, you have to leave the city limits before Fajr, and the distance has to be 80 kilometers, which comes out to how many miles? I think it's like high 40s. It's the weather. It's high 40s today. Let's check. Yeah, it's like 50 kilometers. Okay? 50 miles, sorry. 80 kilometers, 50 miles. Okay? So you got to go that far. So if you're just going from here to Dearborn, we're on the border, aren't we? Right? Someone tries to get smart. Every day before Fajr, they're just going to cross the street into Dearborn and be like, I don't have to fast today. What do you guys think? That doesn't count. You still got to fast. You're not considered a traveler. It's too short of a distance. Just going across the street. If you're going far, you're going to, Chicago, New York, more than 50 miles, then you have a choice of fasting or not. Okay? So that, in a summary, are all the people who have to fast and not have to fast and have a choice of fasting or not. So the people who have to fast, Muslims who have reached puberty and are sane. People who don't have to fast and pay food or money instead are people who are what? People who are chronically ill or very elderly and they just can't fast. The doctor told them you can't fast. They give half a liter of rice, for example, for every day. They don't fast. And then you have people who cannot fast, even if they wanted to and are able to, such as a menstruating woman. She makes it up later on. And then you have people who have a choice of whether to fast or not, like a traveler. Okay? Like a traveler with the condition that they leave the city limits before Fajr. Okay? And they go far enough, 50 miles or more, such that they're considered to be traveling. That person has a choice. And if they decide not to fast, they must make it up later on after the month of Ramadan. Okay? Is that clear? Is there any questions? No? Okay. طيب. That is who it is obligatory to fast. And now we're going to talk about how the fast works. All right? How the fast works. To have a valid fast in the Shafi'i madhab, you just need 2 things. Okay? You need an intention that occurs sometime in the night. From after Maghrib until when? Until Fajr, right? Yeah, until Fajr. From after Maghrib until Fajr. So anytime you make an intention to fast the next day, okay, anytime between after Maghrib to before Fajr, that counts. Okay? And all you have to say is that you intend to fast the following day for the month of Ramadan. And that's it. If you want to say it in Arabic, you would say, نويت صوم غد عن أداء فرض شهر رمضان هذه السنة لله تعالى. If you want to say it in English, that's fine too. You just say, I intend to fast tomorrow because it's the month of Ramadan. خلاص. That's enough. Okay? So make your intention from after Maghrib until before Fajr. Okay? And it's sunnah to articulate it. To actually say that aloud. And that's why you see here in Al-Rahma, you've taken up the practice of our teachers in southern Yemen and Hadramaut, where everyone says it together every night after Maghrib. And then again after Taraweeh. So that, khalas, as long as you prayed in Jama'ah that day in the masjid, you can rest assured that you said it with the Imam. It's a reminder for everyone. It's a reminder for everyone. And so that's the way someone should do it. Just set say it after Maghrib, say it after Isha, say it as often as you can. Okay? But minimum, set yourself a time where you say it every day so you don't forget. You just say you intend to fast. You intend to fast the following day for the month of Ramadan. طيب, that's the first thing you have to do. You have to make an intention. The second thing you have to do for a valid fast in the Shafi madhab is what? You have to not eat or drink. Okay? You have to not eat or drink. And you have to not have, you cannot be intimate with someone else. Okay? So for example, someone, okay, says the intention, and then afterwards, throughout the day, they're just drinking water. Is their fast valid? It's not valid, right? It's not valid. Or for example, they have a meal halfway through the day. It's not valid. You have to actually not eat or drink throughout the course of the day from sunrise to sunset. Okay? Likewise, part of eating and drinking means you don't allow anything to enter your body cavity. Okay? Meaning what? So for example, like the body cavity is defined as being like your head and your abdomen. Okay? So from your head to your abdomen, that's considered your body cavity. If something gets inside your body, in your body cavity, during the daytime of Ramadan, your fast is broken. Okay? Meaning, for example, someone doesn't eat or drink, right? They're like, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink. But they swallow, for example, like a coin. Okay? Their fast is broken. Something has entered their body cavity, right? They've taken a coin, a piece of matter, it's gone down their throat, into their stomach, their fast is broken. If they've done it on purpose, it's broken. Or, for example, they decide to take medicine. Okay? They decide to take medicine during the daytime. They have a headache from the fast. They take some paracetamol or Tylenol, right? They take aspirin or Tylenol, whatever, right? To get the headache to go away. That also breaks your fast because you've taken something that travels into your body cavity. Okay? You've taken it wittingly and consciously. And likewise, you must also refrain from intimate relationships with the opposite gender or with anyone, really. Okay? So one cannot, for example, be with their spouse during the daytime of Ramadan or with anyone, really, no matter if it's halal intimacy or haram intimacy. That breaks the fast. That breaks the fast, and there's a really severe consequence for the person that does that. So two things essentially you have to do to have a valid fast in Shafi madhab. You make an intention, and what? You make sure you don't intake anything in your body cavity, and you're not intimate with anyone. Okay? Okay. Question. Does toothpaste break your fast? What do you guys think? It does. It does. If you swallow it, right? Of course it break your fast, right? You just take it and you swallow it, it break your fast. What about if you use it normally? Would it break your fast? Huh? If you're using it normally, you're just putting it on your toothbrush and you're brushing your teeth. As long as you don't swallow any toothpaste and you spit it all out and you rinse your mouth out afterwards, you don't get anything down, nothing goes down, your fast is okay. Your fast is okay. But it's better not to do it, okay? Because, for one, you're tasting something, right? It has mint flavored, cinnamon flavored, whatever flavor you might have, okay? And that is not a good thing to do. To taste something is not good while you're fasting. It's actually makruh, it's disliked. And also, there's a hadith where the Prophet says that the smell of the breath of a fasting person is more beloved to Allah Ta'ala than perfume. So that bad breath that everyone has while they're fasting, it gets to like this time, and your breath has changed significantly, right? Yeah. So that bad breath that people have when they're fasting, to us it's bad breath. We don't like it. But to Allah Ta'ala, it's sweeter than perfume. It's sweeter than perfume. So we should keep that breath and make sure we don't just remove it unnecessarily. And we're going to make our breaths nice for the people, but for Allah, having the breath of the fasting person is better. So it's makruh, it's disliked to use something like toothpaste while you're fasting. Obviously, if you swallow it, like we said, it breaks your fast. It breaks your fast, yeah? It breaks your fast. Okay. Someone, for example, another question, they have medicine they have to take. Okay? For example, they have asthma. Someone has asthma. When you have asthma, what happens? You have an asthma attack, you need an inhaler, right? When you take the inhaler, what happens? There are droplets of, of fluid in the inhaler that goes down into your throat. That breaks your fast, doesn't it? Right? We said earlier, anything that enters the body cavity breaks your fast. So someone has asthma and they have an asthma attack while they're fasting and they need to use their inhaler. They're looking at it and they're like, man, if I'd use this, it's going to break my fast. I have to make it up later on. They should still use their inhaler. It's okay. Okay, so long as they need their inhaler, they can use it. Okay, but it will break their fast, and they must make up the day later on. Okay, must make up the day later on. But fear of having to make up a day later on shouldn't stop someone from using their medicine. If someone really, really needs to use their medicine, okay, they should use it. They have to use it actually. But refraining from that and leading, and then having causing bodily harm to yourself is not allowed. It's haram. So you should take your medicine if you have to while you're fasting, okay? But then you have to make up that day. If you can work it around the schedule, the fasting schedule. So for example, someone normally takes, some pills around like 2. They consult their doctor and the doctor says, you can take it later on, it's okay. Take it at night, it's fine, right? That's great. That's better, so you don't have to make up days later on. But if someone gets to a point where they have to break their fast by taking medicine, by eating or drinking, someone has a physical job, and they have to eat something or drink something. You can do so. If it gets to a point where you have to, you can do so, okay? But you have to make up the day later on, okay? You must make up the day later on, okay? Does anyone have any questions?
So something like a vaccination,
Yeah.
or something like an IV.
Yeah.
2 things that are entering your body cavity. Those will break your fast.
Yeah. So the brother asked about taking an IV or something like a vaccination while you're fasting. So if it's something you can delay, okay, like a vaccine. If you don't necessarily need to take the vaccine while you're fasting right now, just delay it is better, okay? As for an IV, if someone's taking an IV, and should they really be fasting or not? That's the first question, right? But let's just say like they're going to fast. They're just taking an IV. The scholars have differed in this significantly, but and it's better not to do it. Okay, it's better not to do it. If someone really needs to take something like a specific vaccine while they're fasting, there are some scholars that say it doesn't break your fast, a vaccine. But something like an IV where it's going into your vein and it's feeding you like nutrients or something, most scholars would say this breaks your fast. Okay, this breaks your fast.
What about mucus?
Mucus. So mucus, someone, the back of their throat, they have mucus, okay? So there's 2 kinds of mucus. There's mucus like, someone has a runny nose and something goes up all the way down without ever coming into your mouth. That's fine, nothing happens. Your fast isn't affected. The mucus that harms your fast is mucus that comes up your throat, goes into your mouth, and then you swallow it again. That breaks your fast. So if it's still in your throat, okay, you have 2 options. You can cough it out, or if it's still in your throat, you can swallow it, as long as it's still in your throat. If it's come out, you have to spit it out, okay? So if it's entered your mouth, you must spit it out. If it's still in your throat, you have the option to either spit it out or swallow it, okay? Saliva is okay. Yeah, you can even collect your saliva and drink it. You're okay, all right? You're good, okay?
Is there any khilaf on an inhaler?
Not that I know of. He asked if there's any difference of opinion in an inhaler such that someone can take it and it doesn't break their fast. That's your question? Not that I know of. But the person who has to take an inhaler while they're fasting, they can take it. They're not considered sinful. In fact, they probably have to take it, right? If it's a life or death thing, and then just make it up later on, you know. And if they have asthma in a way where it comes frequently during the day, they can delay their fast until the winter time when the days are really short. Which for you guys in Michigan, yeah, it'll be quite short, right? It'll be short fast. Okay, and if they get to a point where they really just can't fast, plus then they're like the person who's chronically ill, who can't fast, and they just, you know, that's a whole other chapter we can get into later if we have to. Any other questions?
And with the toothpaste, let's say someone did use toothpaste.
Yeah.
They rinse their mouth. The taste that lingers. Swallowing the saliva with that taste.
So he asked if you do use toothpaste to brush your teeth while you're fasting, after you rinse your mouth out and everything, you might still feel like the scent or the flavor of the toothpaste in your mouth. If you swallow saliva, after that, does it break your fast? Okay, so the key thing with saliva, guys, is that as long as it hasn't changed and you swallow it, it doesn't break your fast. If your saliva is changed and you swallow it, then it breaks your fast. So you use your toothpaste, for example, you don't rinse your mouth out properly, your saliva is green. It's blue, it's red, it's the color of the toothpaste, okay? And you swallow that, your fast is broken, okay? Or for example, the saliva itself has changed, like in scent or in taste, like you taste your saliva, it tastes like mint or something, that would break your fast if you were to swallow it, okay? Which is another reason to have caution, and it's better not to use toothpaste while you fast, just for that reason as well, all right? Anything else? So we'll stop there for today. And tomorrow we'll finish off with the last couple of points about the hour from a fasting, then start the inward parts of fasting. Today's Friday, and it's Ramadan. And the scholars always say it's best to make Friday for Allah Ta'ala, for worship. And there are a lot of hadith that discuss the merits and virtues of specific times of Friday, for example, like after Asr, like this time. It is meritorious to make dua, because the Prophet said in a hadith that between the Asr and Maghrib of Friday, there's a specific time when prayers are accepted. And he also encouraged us to make plentiful salawats as well on Friday. So we're going to do that shortly after the last point.
What is the opinion if a woman is pregnant or nursing on making up the fast?
Yeah. So if a woman is pregnant or nursing, she's asking, do you have to fast or not? Okay. So if a woman is pregnant or nursing, so firstly, a pregnant woman or a nursing woman must consult a doctor, a righteous Muslim doctor, and that Muslim doctor practices his religion. The opinion of a doctor who's not Muslim is not enough. The opinion of someone who's not a doctor is not enough. The opinion of a Muslim doctor who's not practicing is also not enough. So it must be a practicing Muslim doctor. They must consult that person, and that person will tell them about the harm fasting can bring their child, okay? If fasting doesn't bring any harm, not to the mother nor the child, then that woman has to fast, okay? If the doctor tells them fasting will bring harm to the mother, just the mother, the child's going to be okay. The nursing child, the child in the womb is going to be completely fine. The mother is going to be harmed. That mother, okay, that woman, she doesn't have to fast anymore, but she must make it up after Ramadan, okay? So she's told by a Muslim practicing doctor, a practiced Muslim doctor, that if she were to fast while she's nursing or pregnant, she will be harmed, not the child. She doesn't have to fast, and she makes it up after Ramadan. If she is told by the doctor that the child will be harmed and not her, for example, nutrients won't reach the child, or if she's nursing, the doctor might tell her that like she won't produce enough milk for the baby, the child will be harmed. In this case, she also doesn't fast, but she must make it up later on after Ramadan. And in addition to that, she must also pay a handful of food to a poor person for every single day of the month. For example, like she's told, like she's nursing, for example, right? Doctor tells her that if you were to fast, you would not have enough milk for the baby, so don't fast. She doesn't fast. She doesn't fast 29 days, okay? She must make 29 days up after Ramadan. And she must also pay 29 handfuls of rice, for example, to a poor person, okay? So the question is, why is it that when it comes to her own sake, she doesn't have to pay money or pay food. She just makes it up. But when it comes to the sake of the child, she must make it up and she must pay. It's because there's a general principle that if someone breaks their fast for the sake of someone else, they must pay. You must make it up and you must pay something. Pay a handful of food, no matter what situation you're in. Whether it's a mother nursing a child, she is not fasting for the baby's sake, or someone, for example, let's just say someone is like on the beach, they're on Lake Michigan, for example, on the coast, and they see someone drowning, and they go in to save that person, and they break their fast while doing that. They have to also make up the day and pay a handful of food for that day because they broke their fast not for themselves but for someone else. That's a summary. So if a woman is pregnant or fasting and she doesn't fast because it would bring harm to herself, she just makes up the day. If she doesn't fast because it might brings harm to the child, she must make it up and pay what's called the fidya and pay that handful of food to a poor person for every day she didn't fast. If it's both, the doctor tells her that it would harm you and the child, then she just doesn't fast and she makes up later on, but she pays nothing. Okay? She pays nothing. Tamam?
If the mother has years of fasting to make up because she had multiple children, like what would she do?
Can you bring the mic closer to your mouth?
If the mother has years of fasting or like a lot of fasting to make up because if she had multiple children, what is she to do?
She should. She didn't make up any fast, or she just didn't pay the food. Which one is it? Or is it both?
Both.
Both. Okay. Firstly, she must estimate how many days of fasting she must make up. She must make that up. Okay. That's point number one. Point number two is that I'm gonna answer this tomorrow, inshallah. Okay. Yeah, because there's some differences of opinion in this matter.
Okay.
I'll answer it tomorrow, inshallah. She has to make up the fast, that's for sure. Okay? But whether she has to pay or not, there's a difference of opinion. We'll talk about it tomorrow, inshallah. Okay? So what we're going to do now, we're going to do some salawat on the Prophet ﷺ. The specific form of salawat that is mentioned in the hadith for us to perform between Asr and Maghrib on Fridays. And it goes like the following. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin abdik wa rasulik al-nabi al-ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim taslima. And we're going to do it 80 times, inshallah. Okay? Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin abdik wa rasulik al-nabi al-ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim taslima. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما في كل لحظة أبدا عدد خلقك ورضا نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك.
Okay.
It says on the thing right there. It says it. So.
We're going to read the word of Sheikh Abu Bakr bin Salim. It's on pages 148 and 147, I believe, in the green books. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم يا عظيم السلطان يا قديم الإحسان يا دائم النعم يا كثير الجود يا واسع العطاء يا خفي اللطف يا جميل الصنع يا حليما لا يعجل. صل يا ربي على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم وارض عن الصحابة أجمعين. اللهم لك الحمد شكرا ولك المن فضلا وأنت ربنا حقا ونحن عبيدك رقا وأنت لم تزل لذلك أهلا. يا ميسر كل عسير ويا جابر كل كسير ويا صاحب كل فريد ويا مغني كل فقير ويا مقوي كل ضعيف ويا مأمن كل مخيف. يسر علينا كل عسير فتيسير العسير عليك يسير. اللهم يا من لا يحتاج إلى البيان والتفسير حاجاتنا كثير وأنت عالم بها وخبير. اللهم إني أخاف منك وأخاف ممن يخاف منك وأخاف ممن لا يخاف منك. اللهم بحق من يخاف منك نجنا ممن لا يخاف منك. اللهم بحق سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم احرسنا بعينك التي لا تنام واكنفنا بكنفك الذي لا يرام وارحمنا بقدرتك علينا فلا نهلك وأنت ثقتنا ورجاؤنا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. اللهم إنا نسألك زيادة في الدين وبركة في العمر وصحة في الجسد وسعة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت وشهادة عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت وعفوا عند الحساب وأمانا من العذاب ونصيبا من الجنة وارزقنا النظر إلى وجهك الكريم. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. All right, we're going to read the word al-Latif of Imam al-Haddad, and in the green books it begins on page 284 and 285. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك رب أن يحضرون أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون فتعالى الله الملك الحق لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم ومن يدعو مع الله إلها آخر لا برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون وقل رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين فسبحان الله حين تمسون وحين تصبحون وله الحمد في السماوات والأرض وعشيا وحين تظهرون يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ويحيي الأرض بعد موتها وكذلك تخرجون أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل رأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم سلام على نوح في العالمين إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. اللهم إني أمسيت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أمسيت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أمسيت منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتمم نعمتك علي وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أمسيت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أمسيت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أمسيت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. اللهم إني أمسيت أشهدك وأشهد حملة عرشك وملائكتك وجميع خلقك أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك، وأن سيدنا محمدا عبدك ورسولك. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا. آمنت بالله العظيم وكفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. آمنت بالله العظيم وكفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. آمنت بالله العظيم وكفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. ولا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. 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 اللهم إني أسألك من فجاءة الخير وأعوذ بك من فجاءة الشر. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت. أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت. أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت عليك توكلت وأنت رب العرش العظيم. ما شاء الله كان وما لم يشأ لم يكن. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير، وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من شر نفسي ومن شر كل دابة أنت آخذ بناصيتها، إن ربي على صراط مستقيم. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث ومن عذابك أستجير. أصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي ولا إلى أحد من خلقك طرفة عين. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن، وأعوذ بك من العجز والكسل، وأعوذ بك من الجبن والبخل، وأعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وقهر الرجال. اللهم إني أسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إني أسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في ديني ودنياي وأهلي ومالي. اللهم استر عوراتي وآمن روعاتي. اللهم احفظني من بين يدي ومن خلفي وعن يميني وعن شمالي ومن فوقي، وأعوذ بعظمتك أن أغتال من تحتي. أأنت خلقتني وأنت تهديني وأنت تطعمني وأنت تسقيني وأنت تميتني وأنت تحييني وأنت على كل شيء قدير. أمسينا على فطرة الإسلام وعلى كلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين. اللهم بك أمسينا وبك أصبحنا وبك نحيا وبك نموت، وعليك نتوكل وإليك المصير. أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك خير هذه الليلة، فتحها ونصرها ونورها وبركتها وهداها. اللهم إني أسألك خير هذه الليلة وخير ما فيها وخير ما قبلها وخير ما بعدها، وأعوذ بك من شر هذه الليلة وشر ما فيها وشر ما قبلها وشر ما بعدها. اللهم ما أمسى بي من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك، فلك الحمد ولك الشكر على ذلك. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله العظيم وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله عدد ما خلق في السماء، سبحان الله عدد ما خلق في الأرض، سبحان الله عدد ما بين ذلك، سبحان الله عدد ما هو خالق. الحمد لله عدد ما خلق في السماء، الحمد لله عدد ما خلق في الأرض، الحمد لله عدد ما بين ذلك، الحمد لله عدد ما هو خالق. لا إله إلا الله عدد ما خلق في السماء، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما خلق في الأرض، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما بين ذلك، لا إله إلا الله عدد ما هو خالق. الله أكبر عدد ما خلق في السماء، الله أكبر عدد ما خلق في الأرض، الله أكبر عدد ما بين ذلك، الله أكبر عدد ما هو خالق. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما خلق في السماء، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما خلق في الأرض، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما بين ذلك، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عدد ما هو خالق. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة ألف مرة. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير عدد كل ذرة 1000 مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة 1000 مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة 1000 مرة. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة 1000 مرة في كل لحظة أبدا عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. أستغفر الله للمؤمنين والمؤمنات 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 في كل لحظة أبدا عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة